Dallas Cowboys season begins in 30 days. Can they score 30 points per game? Now, shout out to DallasCowboys.com. Had asked this question for 31 days, and I was like, let's make it a more even number. And that was yesterday. So, here are the Cowboys. Well, before we get into the numbers, do you think that can be done?
No.
I don't.
No.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out exactly how to look at this appropriately, because you scored 41 against Philly, 44 against New York Giants,
Yep.
43 against the Falcons, 56 against Washington, and then 51 against the Eagles. I don't think your division's going to be that poor again this year, where you own them that way without some of the offensive weapons that you gave up last year and one of the defensive weapons. Now, maybe Sam Williams does replace Randy Gregory in a different role. Not the same kind of player, if you will, because Randy Gregory is a bouncy kind of guy, whereas Sam Williams is he's a brawler, right? But I'm looking, Kevin, I've been looking at this. They were the only team to score 30 points a game last year.
That is true.
Tampa Bay was at 29-9.
Oh, I had them at 30.2. I just had it.
I have it. This is on teamrankings.com. So maybe they scored some.
On ESPN, there were only two. It says 30.1 for Tampa, but maybe math-wise, they scored 511 points.
Okay.
So that
that hits the mark.
But there were only two.
Okay, according to team rankings, only two got it in 2020, and that would be Green Bay, Tampa Bay. Buffalo was at 29-9. In 2019, one team scored 30 points. So you see what I'm saying is, on average, 2 to 3 teams score, and it's actually closer to 1.5 teams score over 30 a game. I don't see the Cowboys being it this year.
Okay, now you were right about that trend.
The Cowboys scored the most last year.
I know. And
they had some big games last year.
Unfortunately, because of the way the games were playing out, they were on pace to score the most the year before as well. So check this out. So these are years in the Dak Prescott pantheon of his career. Is 2016, Cowboys were 5th, 26.3 points per game. And we hit some of the dark times from the 2017, 14th, 2018, 23rd, then back to 2019, 6th, 27.1 points per game. All right, we're moving in the right direction. 2020, they were 17th in points. However, when Dak was on the field, if you want to count the 4 games, 31.5 points per game. If you want to count the 5 games, 32.6 points per game. Now, is that also because they fell way behind and then the defenses quit caring? Fair enough. I would certainly listen to that. Last year, number 1, as you brought up, 31.2 points per game. So the last 2 years that Dak was out there, one partial, one full, the team has scored at least 30 points. And I guess maybe that should be the question. It's not, can the offense score 30 points per game? Can the team score 30 points per game? Because whether it was special teams or defense, you had a plethora of non-offensive points put on the board as well.
Yeah, and man, CeeDee Lamb did have 1,100 yards last year. It was only 6 touchdowns, but he did have 1,100 yards. And then Amari Cooper probably could have gotten that. I don't know. Maybe both of them are 1,000-yard receivers, but we were expecting 3 1,000-yard receivers last year.
Yeah.
Schultz ends up being probably your best target because he had 800, almost, he's close there, and 8 touchdowns. But the touchdowns, I guess if you're sitting there going, well, I mean, who are the targets? Who's he working with? Everybody. That's what Dak did last year. He spread the love to everybody had touchdowns, man. So I think there are plenty of opportunities for Dak, who had 37, which was his career high for touchdowns, to do that again. But they did take advantage of some very, very bad teams last year. And
yes.
Does their schedule?
I think at least 2 of those teams in division at least will be god awful again.
I have trouble looking at the Cowboys schedule and saying they're going to be under 500 with how weak their schedule looks on paper.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm going to pick them to be 9-8 or 10-7 just based off of how weak their schedule is. So they could rack up some points. It's interesting too on this. Well, hey, Dak Prescott, let him cook, and he's so great, especially when he has great games. Last year, Dak had 5 300-yard games or more. In those games, the Cowboys were 3-2.
Wow.
Because they're kind of comeback games.
Yeah.
Right? When Dak throws for a lot of yards, we're losing and we're trying to come back. So all of a sudden, the defense maybe gives you a little bit more of, hey, we'll let you throw underneath for 10 to 20 yards type of deal. And then he racks up 80-yard drives with almost all 80 yards of them being a passing situation. So I'm not saying Dak is bad. Dak is a good quarterback. I want to make sure people understand Dak's a good quarterback. A lot of times when he has big games, it's because we're losing and having to come back, and we're about 50-50 in those situations.
Yeah, the team did seem to fare last year, at least, better when he was in the 200 to 250 range, rather than the 325 to 389 to 400 range, which, like, that's cool. You get to talk about Dak threw for 500 yards. That's amazing. This is awesome. But you don't really want that to be the case unless, like, you're just running away with games every night. You know, if you're running away with games and teams can't keep up with you, then we're good.
Okay,